I think a lot of people don't. You know, I don't ask myself enough how does this make me feel. I don't check.
Why?
I don't know.
You meditate all the time.
I do, but I won't say I never, but when I am meditating, it's so strange. It is an outward yet inner experience, but you can meditate for 30 seconds if you need to, and that 30 seconds could be that actual question. How does this make me feel? I don't check my feelings enough throughout the day. I react to emotion more than I check my feelings throughout the day. If I were to check my feelings throughout the day, there are certain emotions I probably wouldn't have to counteract. And then I would be living a more peaceful and serene life on a daily basis, no matter what it is that I do. I wouldn't be so concerned about, oh my God, I'm 132 pounds. Some crap like that. You know what I'm saying? So.
No, I'm with you. And the checking emotion, I think, became essentially super easy for me, right? Because I sucked at meditating. You know, like you
sit there and okay,
I'm trying to find that blank space in between the thoughts. How the fuck do you do that? I'm like, okay, stop thinking and look for that blank void.
But see, that's where the thing is.
What is it? I can't find it. I just have another thought.
But at the same time, when you're going, look for the blank thought, your brain is still working because you're looking for something, so it's working. The idea of meditation is just to sit still and just be in that moment. But I think that question, how does this make me feel, helps you because it causes you to kind of turn the brain off and go with your heart and your emotion. So,
which is your compass.
100%. It is the actual brain. I truly believe that. But you know what I mean? Like I will. Because I said this the other day. I'm like, the fact that you do that, and I think I put a post up because I found a post that said, you know, to ask yourself, how does it make you feel? How are you making yourself feel on a daily? Something like that. And I put it in the group. And because it's like it's staying.
But it's a bigger question.
It's a much bigger question.
You know, and you could get a little bit more specific with that question, right? To really trigger something in someone's psyche, right? So what was your question that you put out there? How does it make you... what?
I have to pull it up.
I have my phone.
It was a post, but it was one that I found, and it was ironic because it wasn't ironic. It was good timing that it... Ironic and good timing, does that mean the same thing?
No. Ironic.
It feels like it does.
Ironic means it, right? It's something like happenstance.
The irony of it happened at the same time, but good timing, it happened at the same time.
Yeah. Because ironic could be a negative thing too. So good timing, I mean, I guess there could be irony in good timing.
Yeah, see? So, anyway,
we'll approach that one at a different day.
But it's just... Oh, I lost my train of thought. Bring it back. Oh, the fact that, you know, it popped up, and that question is a very important question that I feel... I know I need to ask myself every single... You know what's crazy? When you feel something and then you add the I know to it, it's almost like it solidifies and makes it concrete and turns it into a belief.
You're telling your story. You're telling yourself a story.
It's like I just felt like the switch when I went. I feel, and then it's like it's not just a feeling anymore. You feel it so much that your brain now believes it. It's now a belief and it's concrete, so it's there. I know that is a question that I need to ask myself on a daily, multiple times throughout the day. and I feel, because I'm feeling, because I can't apply everyone else's belief
Right.
to mine. I feel as though it is a question that individuals should ask themselves on a daily.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and not just, and when we don't, we respond, we react. We react to something
yes.
emotionally.
I would say that life for a lot of people is nothing but a fire drill. You are reacting to some sort of chaos or story that you made up in your own fucking head. You know? I can't believe this person said this, and I can't believe this happened. And
you're taking it on.
You know, yeah.
You're applying it to your life.
I lost my job. I lost my car.
So the term, make sure that you're the only individual who's holding the pen, you know, writing the story of your life. It's absolutely true. Because when you take on what someone else is saying, you're essentially giving them the pen to write something.
Not even taking on what someone else is saying. Because you are taking on what your story is of what that person is saying.
Right, and applying it.
And then making it a belief.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's true. So you think it's true.
Yes, I was going to say.
You know, so it's the confabulation. Right? We learned something from Brene Brown, just letting you know.
I used that word the other day, so it rolls off my tongue, because it is a great word, confabulation. Like, it's such a good word. I wrote it down in my book, and when I wrote it, I meant to say a lie told honestly, right? I accidentally put I lie told honestly. Joe picked it up and he was like, you lie. I'm like, no, not me. I was like, confabulation, that's a lie. I applied it to myself, you know, just to check to see, have I ever done that?
Yeah, that's a good check, right? You
mean?
put I.
I was like, because it came out that way, and I'm like, why did I write that? So,
who doesn't do that? I think there's a lot of confabulation in this world.
Confabulated stories that are out there, absolutely.
You know, like, yeah, you tell yourself a story about what you think someone else thinks of you or thinks about an action that you did. And then...
And to you, it's the honest truth.
You make it true, right? So then when you go home and go talk to hubby, you know, and you're like, I can't believe blah, 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 because she thinks blah, blah, blah. Clueless. She has no idea, you know, because you just made this entire story. But now that's the truth to your husband, right?
Right.
Now your husband's going to think some type of way about this person because of a confabulated story that, you know, you think is true.
So then it does truly go back to initially. How does this make me feel?
Feel, right?
Yeah.
You check your feeling.
Yeah.
So you identify it.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't feel right, you check it immediately. And that's the boundary.
Why.
Right?
The why.
So you do something like Brene was talking to Oprah, right? You do something, you say something, I immediately have a negative response.
But it's why are you responding that? Why is it triggering you?
Right.
Why is it triggering a negative emotion?
Right. So then they come at you and I say, what I'm hearing you say is, I just want to make sure I'm clear, right? There's all kinds of ways you can say it. What I'm hearing you say, or it appears that blah, blah, blah. And I do this all the time because then it's not non-threatening.
Right.
So when I check myself, I want to approach whatever I'm checking, you know, so my fact finding, because I have to fulfill this yearning essentially to correct the negative feeling. I'm trying to counteract, but I'm not waiting. I don't want that negative feeling to sit. Right?
And then that becomes when you become bitter.
Right. Resentful.
And all those other negative emotions. So, definitely, for me, on a daily, it will be to ask myself on a continuous basis, how how does something make me feel? How does it even down to the meditation aspect. When you're going into meditation or you're, and I do ask myself that question because it's like, do I want to, where I'm sitting, what energy, what vibe, where am I? What am I feeling? What am I seeing? You know, all those things I have to try to make them dissipate to some degree. But asking yourself, how am I feeling? How does this make me feel? And then you can go and you can think about certain things. My job, how does this make me feel? My relationship, how does this make me feel? My friendships, how does this make me feel?
Come on, sexy intuitive, you know. Called you on it.
I'm knowing. I'm in the process of knowing. And that is just simply taking what I feel and what my belief, like I have to apply and get rid of all the negative stuff that I've told myself over the years. I think that's where we all are. We're all kind of...
And then going back to past to blame. And then not only that, going past to blame and feeling like you have to heal the past in order to heal your pain now. You don't have to do that. You can take shortcuts, you know, and resolve pain a lot more quick than having to go back to your past to heal it.
Right. That too is very good, because I think that when you talk about going back to your past, you're going back to your past and your inner child. Your inner child is not in your past. Your inner child, you were a child in the past, but your inner child is right here and right now. Always present. And technically, that's the one you're asking, how does this make you feel? So that little Kenya, you know,
that was hurt and beat up and bruised, whatever it was, you know, the sadness, right? Whatever it was at that time.
You can go back and identify it from a physical 3D standpoint. This little 6-year-old girl was hurt during that time, but that little 6-year-old girl is still in you. She's still with you. She's still present now.
She's just growing.
So yeah. So like, don't go back years and years and years per se to get in touch with her. You can get in touch with her right here, right now, but I think it's just a physical point that we try to identify.
Well, we try to put time against everything. You know? So, time's an illusion. When you put time...
Is time an illusion or a belief system? Because
it's both.
We believe that it is.
It is an instilled belief system and an illusion.
Is that how? That is a good definition of illusion. If you get down into it, so I guess in a sense, yes, you are correct. You are correct. There are moments when I don't feel where time doesn't matter.
It shouldn't.
There are, but then there are those moments when you're aware. It's almost like being aware of it because somebody gives you or tells you at 6 o'clock you're gonna do this. At 3 o'clock you're gonna do this. So what are you doing? You're constantly looking at the clock.
Right, and not only that, humans come into existence, and it's like, okay, you have maybe 60 to 100 years. Go for it, kids.
You're stamped when you're born.
And you're like, go.
When you check out.
And then people are like, oh shit, this is a race. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I gotta do this. If I don't do that, then I'm gonna be failure. And this, like all this stuff's got to be done. And and it's chaos. You take time and out of the equation.
You just exist.
You exist, and you enjoy every moment for what it is.
Now let me ask you this. When you're checking, okay, you wake up, it's your day, you're getting it started. When you go and I'm guilty of this. When I go and I look at the clock, I don't say to myself, I should be doing this at this time. I find myself saying, well, most people at this time would be doing this.
Yes.
People get on my nerves then. No, just joking. I guess what I'm saying is that you really do But yeah, it's an illusion. You're taking it on. If you do what feels right when it feels right, when you're constantly, how does this make me feel? And if you're going with the feeling good, not the false feeling good, not the drugs, not the alcohol, not all of those things, but this is making me feel blissful, this is making me feel at peace, go with that. And terminology, if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life because you love it, so you're just going to continuously do it and you're going to continuously be it. Yeah, it's a good place to be. So how does this make me feel on a daily, regardless of
on a daily? It is
all day. All day, every
it
day.
is a constant check. I am constantly in check.
And that's such a great
And
quality
there's
to have.
all kinds of signals and signs and
Yes,
synchronicities.
I love that, yes.
And you know, what we call Cheerios, and you know, going down the rabbit hole. There's all kinds of ways that always trigger me back to my conscious,
So what I'm going to do today,
my subconscious,
is, because we know time is there, we do have to use it, bosses get paid and all that other stuff.
yeah.
But I do see numbers. When I see 1111 or 111, or the next time I look at a number that pops out at me and I'm triggered, I'm going to ask myself, how am I feeling?
Yeah.
So instead of going like, ooh, make a wish.
Yes. Kenya, I used to take a picture of it every time.
Yeah.
Remember? Mm-hmm. I took a picture of all my duplicate numbers because it happened to me. But you know, doing that, I don't do it anymore. But in doing that, it showed me how many times I was reaching out to myself during that time period.
And that's your analytical brain. That's what you see the patterns. You've identified the patterns so much so that you don't need to do that per se. It's just innate. Right now, you can glance it. You can glance.
I can glance at 7:55 and think about checking myself.
Exactly. So, in a sense, time check. But your time check is not a time in regards to length. It's more in regards to, it's time to get in touch with your...
I made a trigger.
Yeah.
I made a trigger that associated time.
Right.
You know, right? Not only time, pattern.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's associating a synchronistic pattern of some sort that seems ironic, right?
There's the irony.
Right? Good timing to bring me out of 3D consciousness and back into a 5D consciousness. And that 5D consciousness is the how do I feel?
Right. How do you feel?
How do I feel? I feel
you might need to look at the clock just so you trigger it.
Nah, that's funny. No, I mean, it's a good point and good question. You know, I am not used to somebody approaching me with how do I feel without me approaching myself, so it just caught me off guard. But I think this morning I feel very spiritual. Feel very connected with you know, my spirit guides and my inner child. Feel a bit like there are things that need to be said, you know, things that need to be discussed. I mean, are those feelings? So those feelings, what's the word, or what's the word for the feeling? Expressive?
That's a good word.
You know, like...
Expressive.
Right? Expressive.
Right.
You know, like it's not... you just get into a feeling of, I have something to say, right? So that's sort of how I feel. Like I'm passionate about something that's in my inner soul, and it wants to speak and it wants to say something.
Right.
Sometimes, and I have a lot of those moments because I talk a lot when I'm comfortable. And then you can't shut me up, and I just keep on talking. So, but yeah, how do you feel?
Free.
Free.
Very much so. Just like you, I have things that are innate. There's knowledge that I feel like that I have, and I'm free to express it, to put it out there. But these are things that, from a collective standpoint, a lot of individuals may want to know and know how to use, and the tools that we already have in our internal tool bag that we don't even realize are there, to begin to heal, move on, grow, and feel free. I have a serious, I won't even say it's an issue, I had a serious belief that that I was locked in. I'm trying to find the easiest words that are easy to visualize, but locked in my own life, my own doing. I was a bird in a cage, where you feel free, like the gilded bird in a cage, where you're flying around this big, beautiful golden cage, and you think that you have all these things, but every bar is something that you've allowed yourself to believe that you've placed there, and you can't get out of it because you're afraid to go beyond it. You're afraid of what other people will think or what they'll say. And so now, I was that bird in a cage, and I had the key around my neck, and I opened the door, and I was like, you know what, this is me, this is how I'm choosing to live my life, because I feel good about my life. I feel good about myself. I've forgiven myself for whatever mistakes that I may have done as it pertains to doing my own self a disservice. I'm genuinely a nice person. Like, you don't encounter too many people to their core that are genuinely good people. You do encounter them. You are genuinely a good person. It's just that's your makeup. That's that core that you have. And I had to forgive myself, because knowing this about myself, even at a young age, knowing that I am genuinely a nice person, kept putting myself out there in situations with individuals that would
take advantage.
Yes. Yeah. And I had to
up
forgive
take
myself,
advantage.
because it's like, girl, you knew. Why'd you do this? But that was my learning process. That was my journey. But the whole goal is, when you go through those journeys now, those things that made you feel a certain way, if you got through them, share it with other people so that they can avoid those situations, or maybe they can relate to it, and then you can help them. So again, I feel free. I feel free to share. I feel free to love. I feel free to understand. I feel free to live. I feel free to breathe. So there are a lot of things that I'm grateful for, and to sum it all up into one word is, I guess, free. So yeah. And even to do this, these coffee conversations in the morning, get some branding, something, it feels good. Does get the day going. It's like getting in touch with yourself before you have to get in touch with other people. So for me, it was the meditation, but when you get down to bouncing back and forth and being connected, girl,
it's like almost you should have it would be cool to have a a spiritual talk show.
Done.
Right? With a panel.
Done.
Of, you could, women and.
Done. Okay.
Right? And then, I'd say, like The View, right? The View. But instead of entertainment type of.
It's still entertainment.
Drama. Well, I'm not saying it's not, but that's what it is, right? So it's less spiritual talk and more The View is, right? Or The View, or The Real is the one I'm talking about. But same sort of.
Yes, because here's the thing. Like, what you've made me realize, and you asked me, like, well, why do you laugh at yourself, Kenya? Because I find life entertaining. Like,
girl, I laugh at myself.
Exactly.
Like, I am constantly laughing at
it
myself.
goes into, we are entertaining people, situations, and day to day. Some stuff that does happen in a person's life, you cannot write, you can't make it up. And art imitates life. You know, so they're pulling it from somewhere. So when you add the spiritual element to it, and when we say spiritual, there's a difference between spiritual and religion, yes. But just that connectedness of life, from a good vibrational standpoint, it's funny to me it's funny as shit. I find humor in catching myself, telling myself the most ridiculous of things, and being like, okay, girl, that's not right. You're wrong there. Or things you might want to say, you don't say, but when you do say them, you're like, I mean it in the nicest way possible. I don't put any energy behind it.
But like by the way, so why I do that to poor Lynn all the time.
So this is done. This is happening. It's not like I don't have the outlet to do it. I have a freaking streaming channel that's coming on Roku. Why not? I would enjoy the hell out of it.
You should do
nice
it.
Ass coffee sponsor too.
I know you want me involved, but you should do it. You should do it.
Well, no. Here's where your gift comes in, because you are that internal processor of yours. You can look at it from a broad scope, and then you go in and you bring it all together to really help dissect it. Like, I've never met anyone that can analyze the fuck out of spirituality and 5D and 3D consciousness the way that you can, and the transmutation process, how quick with it you are, is such an amazing trait. I believe that if we all could learn to do that for ourselves, we would get through, get over, get beyond stuff like that.
Like Brene Brown says, if you do it, you'd be straight.
Okay.
Like it's the revolution. I haven't read her book, but if I did, I know.
Right, I love her. I love her.
But I'm gonna buy that book right now.
We've already established I'm like the Russell Brand and all of this. So, but you would need those types of individuals, right, on a panel if you're going to reach a broader demographic. There are a lot of people who are going to gravitate to what I say and how I say it. Then there are some people who are going to be, she's just too light and fluffy. She curses, that's fucking awesome, but she's just too light and fluffy. So we would need those types of people. So, would you be a main? I would love for that to be a case. And then you can add your fillers, your special guests. But this is like, I think Red Table Talk set it up.
Yes.
It's
a different type of Red Table Talk, right?
Because they're going most from situational standpoints and things that are plaguing our humanity. The trends with certain topics, the sexual preferences, just things that people are dealing with.
Yeah, hot topics, trending topics of time.
Where I think we differ is we're tackling those issues from a single person with their own
Yes.
issues may be with themselves on a daily. So my goal is to learn how to silence the inner critic.
You don't want to silence her.
Communicate.
Yeah.
You do. You do want to be able to communicate. You do want to be able to understand that inner critic and why that side of you says what it says. Or
because it could easily be a frequency or an energy that
I think for
empathetically you're picking up from someone else.
It could be.
It could be.
It could also be one that you would. So it would be identifying, like, critics. We have them. They talk about movies. They talk about their job is to criticize. We've given them a place in our world. We've also given them a place internally as well. So, identifying what and why, what it is that person likes to criticize. What is the main thing when that inner critic decides to speak? What is it mostly about? Where does it come from? Why does that side of you exist? And I would like to know that, within people, because I think about the conversations people have with me when they call me and they're looking for guidance and they need help, and I'm helping them through certain things. There is that. I end up speaking to their inner critic. It's almost like a calling out of sort, where they're saying
your inner critic, ego, it's the same thing.
Yeah. And I end up, that's who I end up speaking to, I believe. That's who I end up guiding. That's where I go when I'm trying to identify an individual to switch it so they reach their greatest potential. And the first thing is to identify what that side, that energetic frequency is, and why is it existing, where is it emanating from, what's the trigger, what's coming out. And so for me, it's done. The Sexy Intuitive has, what time is it? It's just been birthed. How I made you look.
8:10.
So, yeah, it's clearly, it's a done thing. Trust me, it's a done thing.
I mean, it's a great idea because, or I think I would find value in in an everyday show that is real and speaking to the spiritual folk of the world, right? Because that is our goal, is we, even from the political issues that we heard when we watched the interview with Russell Brand, right? Until we spread more of this message and this, this way of being, that's when we're going to come out of those chains.
Free.
And be free.
Yep.
As a nation, not even nation, as a population of human beings on this earth. There are just a lot of restraints.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of The Sexy Intuitive. I am Kenya Red, and my co-host, Shell Bella Blue, also known as Michele Fisher. We do this every morning. Join us here next time.